afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of MSME Masterclass. We welcome Mahesh Devsthale as a distinguished speaker for today's MSME Masterclass. With an illustrious career spanning 29 years in the IT industry, Mahesh is a dynamic thought leader and the founder of Sharva Group, specializing in project and program management, information security management systems, risk management, and quality assurance. His expertise is backed by a wealth of certifications including ISO31000, Lead Auditor and Implementer, ITIL4 Foundation, Prince 2 Agile Trainer, and GDPR Data Protection Officer, among many others. An MBA graduate and certified professional in Agile frameworks like SAFE and Scrum, Mahesh has empowered organizations worldwide to excel in data privacy, risk management, and project efficiency. Mahesh's in-depth knowledge and practical insights make him a sought-after authority on data privacy compliance, GDPR, DPDPA, agile and safe practices, and software quality management. Today, we are eager to gain from his expertise as he shares valuable strategies and tools to implement ISO 31000 for effective risk management. Please join me in welcoming Mahesh Devsthale warmly. Good afternoon, sir, and welcome to MSME Masterclass. We're pleased to have you today with us.
Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure. And you have given a detailed introduction about myself, so I think let's begin.
Sure, sir. So my first question to you is, what is ISO 31000 and why is it significant for effective risk management?
Okay, ISO 31000 is one of the international standards given by the International Organization of Standardization, ISO. And this particular standard, it is about the risk management. Now, this is general risk management, generic risk management rather, I would say. It's not for a specific business or specific size of a company or specific sector. It's a very generic one. So it gives us a lot of freedom to customize it further and apply to any scale of the business across any industry. This one is again globally recognized, but this is non-certifiable standard. So, for example, if an organization decides to go for, say, ISMS, then 27001 is a certifiable standard. But 31000 is a non-certifiable standard, but its impact is everywhere. It is in 27001, and it is across all the different functions of any industry, for that matter. See, what happens is, in any business, be it any domain, any size of the company, there is going to be some inherent risk. There is no business, there is no activity without the risk, correct? Now, ISO 31000 gives us a very standardized framework, some principles to follow, which are generally applicable. And then it helps us with some tools and methodologies by which we can tailor this to suit to our business, our requirements, right? So it supports all the three levels of the risk management. So in any organization, if I see, there will be three levels. One is at the strategic level, one is at a tactical level, third one is at the operational level. So the risks will be there at all these levels, across the functions, across the department within the organization. So this single framework brings a complete standardization across all these three levels and across the different functions. It helps tremendously, very largely to bring that corporate governance in a particular way to settle down or to adopt these risk management techniques. So it's a very popular one, very effective one, one of the standards from ISO for the risk management.
Understood. Now, sir, if we had to sort of give out the key principles of ISO 31000 and let our attendees know, what should the organizations focus on in terms of key principles for this particular ISO?
Okay, that's a good one. So a little bit of theory here. But ISO 31000 as a standard document, gives us 8 principles. Yeah, I'll just read it out for you. It is integrated, it is structured and comprehensive, it is customized, it is inclusive, it is dynamic, it is best available information, it is human cultural factors, and it is continuous improvement. So let's go into these principles one by one and try to understand what they actually convey, what they actually want us to follow in the real life. So the first one it says is integrated. So whatever the risk management framework you use, whether it's a simple Excel-based one, wherein the experienced employees from the organization are contributing to the risk identification and the risk cycle, or to the level of wherein we have a very matured tools and technologies for the risk management. As the first principle, it says make it integrated. Let it be across all your functions. Let it be available for all the stakeholders, be it your employees or internal stakeholders, or even your partners, suppliers, external stakeholders as well. So make it integrated. Now, to create such an integrated framework, what we need is a very structured approach and a very comprehensive approach. So the second principle of ISO 31000 says, whenever you create a framework, whenever you decide, okay, this is the way I want to follow the risk management for my organization, you make it structured. It should not happen that your HR function is using it in one way, and then your finance department is using a complete ways of following the risk framework. So make it structured and make it comprehensive, which will encompass, which will cover all the different functions, departments within your organization. Now, when we talk about making comprehensive and bringing a structure, the challenge comes up is every business is different, and every business is different at different points of time. So there is no one shoe fits all kind of a situation or solution there. Correct? So what we need to do is we need to allow some customization within this framework. Right? I cannot give the same solution to a manufacturing unit and to a shipbuilding company and to an IT company. So, but then I need to bring that customization part also into it. Okay? Then make it inclusive. Now, risk cannot be taken alone. Risk will always be associated with something. There are many parameters on which my projects or even my businesses will be weighted against. Their performance will be measured. So this risk is in all of those. So if I say time, cost, quality, these are the three major parameters for any business. Risk is everywhere. Risk is about whether I'm meeting my cost budget, whether I'm meeting my timelines, whether I'm meeting my quality expectations. So make it inclusive. ISO 31000 says is make it inclusive. You should not focus on the risk management of one particular aspect of the business. Then the next principle says make it dynamic. So you should be able to scale it up and scale it down. Now, when I'm looking at the risk assessment or risk identification, what happens is, say, for small organizations, let's say for MSME section. Now, there is an edtech company with whom I work with. Correct? It's a very small startup. Now, on one hand, they also have the risk. That's a team of 5 people, but still they have the risk. On the other hand, I work with another SaaS provider who are like around 100 people strength, and their product is 20-25 years old in the market. So it's a quite settled organization, but they also have the risk inherent in their business and all the functions. The the dynamic principle says, make it scalable, make it a robust one in which we will be able to fit it for this kind of a small edtech and for a large company as well. Right? Make the use of the best information available. Again, risk is something which is uncertain. Now, by definition, risk is uncertainty. Uncertainty in any aspect of our business. So, if something is uncertain, how can I come up with a plan to mitigate if something goes wrong? So the best way is, or the prescribed way by ISO31000 is, make the use of the best available information. Whatever information you have available with you, you make the best use of it. Now, when the standard talks about this available information, it is not only about the available information within my organization, but it asks me to look outside, to look within my sector, my industry, and then you decide how you want to approach to a particular risk. Okay? Then every business, any company is made up of people. So people is at the core of any project, any business, any portfolio, anywhere globally. Okay? So the 31000 also understands this, and it gives us a principle which says, please consider your human and cultural aspects. All the factors which differentiate between the businesses. All the human factors, cultural factors which will differentiate, we'll have to consider all those things. Now, for an example, let's say a growing MSME. Now, they may have one office in Mumbai, one in Delhi, and one somewhere in beyond. Now, if you look at these three cities, of course, they are the global cities, metro cities, but then still, each of this city and people living in this city, they have very different cultural backgrounds. Correct? So, what ISO 31000 says is, you please take into consideration the cultural aspects also. For example, most of my staff in New York will be away, will be on vacation during the year-end time. Whereas, the kind of a Ganpati festival here in Mumbai becomes a very, is a time when many of my staff members will not be available. So, in these days, how do I plan my activities? Will there be any risk? Is it that I'm going to see that out of 10, 8 people are away, so I'm not able to make the deliveries? Even at this minute level or a detailed level, have to consider what is the risk, where is the risk, and how we can mitigate it. Okay? And then, of course, the last one it says is continuous improvement, and that is the fundamental of ITIL, your project management methodologies like PRINCE2, PMP, any standardization you take across the industry, across the globe, it always will be based on the continual improvement. So what I am doing today? Yes, I am doing good. My business is going well. I am happy. But then there is an opportunity. There will always be an opportunity if I look a little closer. Then wherein I can improve. Right? There is a I don't recollect what film it is, but there's a film and Shah Rukh Khan is a hero, and then he says, I am perfection, so I cannot be improved. It stays there only in the film. In real life, it is all about the continuous improvement. Okay? So we should all strive as a business, as an individual, for improving. So these are like 8 principles which are given as per the ISO 31000.
And you're right, because the market is so dynamic, you have to keep improving, otherwise you'll lag behind and the business will not grow as much as you perceived it to be.
Absolutely. And sorry, I forgot one part. So you also asked which of these the organization should focus on. Okay? Now, in all my experience, these cannot be separated. These are all well integrated. They are all connected. It's like a web. So if you ask me, my advice will be, please do not skip even the one of it.
So could you also, for the benefit of our attendees, highlight some of the operational risks that are associated in any organization that the MSMEs should be aware of and should focus on?
Yes, especially the MSMEs. And as I mentioned, there are few of my clients who are MSMEs, and they are from different industries, and they face different risk when it comes to their day-to-day operations. But it all starts with the financial part. For MSMEs, managing the financial risk becomes very important. And in their operations, yes. So, many times MSMEs would prefer a very decent kind of an office rather than a very luxury, fancy kind of workspace. I know one such IT company who even they don't have their offices. Many of their employees are working either from home, or whenever they want to meet, they go for the co-working spaces. Now, this makes a lot of sense in terms of controlling their operational costs. Okay? So, with this and many other financial constraints or parameters that they should be watching around, the first one I would say in the operational risk will be the financial. A second highest most risk I would say for MSMEs is about the human resources. Now, what happens is MSME typically would tend to onboard freshers. Of course, that keeps their costs in control on one side, but on the other side, the risk of ramping down or people leaving the organization, right, or the attrition, it increases very high. Okay? Because of course, the new talent, they will get the exposure in the MSME, they will learn a lot of things, and then for personal or for any other reasons, they would even fly out. Correct. So MSMEs specifically should be aware about this risk. Many times I have seen even MSMEs onboard very highly experienced people. Right? But then if these people, they are somewhere in the retirement mentality, then also it becomes a challenge for the MSME to get the highest productivity or to get the best benefit from their experience and from their knowledge. So human resources is becoming another risk. Now, this human resource risk is also in a way impacts my financial risk because of the changing technological evolution outside. What happens is these skilled people, they will come with a very high cost. So they again go hand in hand. Now, as we are talking about technology, ever evolving technology is another challenge for them. So when they invest for a particular tool, in next 6 months, that tool might have been a complete outdated, obsolete, something new might have replaced it. Right? So how to keep the pace with this ever evolving technology in terms of the finance, in terms of the skilled resources, that becomes a bigger challenge. Then as a business, they will be facing a lot of market competition. Correct? Though every organization says we have the innovation sale and the colleges has got the innovation sale, the real innovations or the disrupting innovations are not something that happen every day in day out. The innovation, what is being commonly, frequently, generally spoken, discussed and referred about is all about making things better. It's like a continuous improvement. But the real innovation which can be disrupting is not that happens on a day-to-day basis. So what happens because of this? Many of the businesses, many of the MSMEs, they fall in a very competitive market. They don't get that advantage. They are not able to leverage that the top position where they are the innovators and they are their solutions, their services are disrupting the market. So in that case, they end up facing a lot of market and competition. Another thing that they face is there is a very little awareness, and I'm talking based on my experience, but there is a very little awareness about protecting our intellectual property. See, when somebody talks about protecting intellectual property, it is generally considered as a patent, filing a patent. And filing a patent is, of course, quite a lengthier, longer process. Even filing a patent for India region as a country also, it takes some time. It has its own requirements, which is quite obvious. So people generally don't register their intellectual property. But then intellectual property, like say if I come up with a very small tool which is based on Excel, but then it is helping me to manage my project in a very scalable way, very faster, it gives me the data that is required. So I can go and I can register that as my copyright at least, which these MSMEs are not aware about. And hence, they don't get the leverage also in the market. See, an organization which says, oh, we have 10 copyrighted solutions or we have 2 patented solutions, and gets a much more advantage than just building up something. Right? And then there are, of course, these pastel factors like your political, social factors, your environmental, the economical factors. They also impact the overall MSME's performance in a great way. So I think MSME should be always aware, and they should keep always one eye open on the risk. It's not that because there is nothing disrupting happening currently in my area of business, I can relax. They should not have that kind of attitude on the line of it.
So, Aridna sir, because we've discussed some of the operational risks, can you also tell our attendees how can businesses effectively identify risks specific to their operations?
Okay. So I'll take one example, to begin with. So this SaaS company, which is my client, I'm doing the ISMS consulting for them. Their product is pretty strong. And it is there in the market for the last 23 years. Means, of course, users are using it and it's there. Right? But last year, we had an incident. One of their clients and one of their big clients, they came back with a complaint that once in every week, your system goes down. The performance completely goes down. None of our users are able to use it. And then we lose so many man hours, and that is equal to so much of cost. All those calculations they happen. Now the team sat down. The team started to analyze, what is going wrong and where can it be corrected. And what they found, almost 10,000 users, 8 to 10,000 users, every Friday were trying to fill up the timesheets. A single module. The same page, the same feature within their product, they were trying to use it, and that was creating an extra load on the system, and the performance was going down. Right? Now, once this was found, it was easy to implement the solutions. And then, when they implemented the solution, they thought about it very holistically. They thought about the hardware improvement. They thought about tweaking and optimizing the code, so the software improvements were done. Till the time the solutions were implemented, the workaround was given to them. So everything was resolved in a very formalized way, in a very organized way, in terms of the technology and in terms of the processes. Now, when business faces such kind of risk or such kind of situation, what they should do is they should start with mapping their processes and doing the analysis of it. So where is that you feel there is an issue or you see a probable risk which may occur and which may disturb your normal operations. So start mapping that. Start putting it actually on a process map. And this is what generally happens. So there are tools available, or you can use a simple paper sheets and you can draw your business process, and you say, okay, this is the place which is working good, and this is the place where my users are facing the problem, my consumers are facing the problem. Right? So once that area is identified, go and you identify who are the different stakeholders who can help us in the resolution of this. So it could be some of your technology partners, or some of the consultants that you hire as an SME in the business area. So you take the consultation from what kind of permanent resolution can make it. Then of course comes the financial part of it. So now I know where the problem is. I know what could be the best fit solution here. Now I should consider what are the financial implications of it if I want to implement this one. So I'll have to do a lot of financial analysis. Then the second thing comes is, do I have enough skills to do that? So in this example which I said, right? So the team had to do a lot of technical terms, what we call it as a database tuning. So the team had to do a lot of database tuning also. Correct? So do I have the skills, the competences within my team, or do I have to hire it from externally? Now, if I hire it from externally, again, I'll have to go back and look at the financial implications. Okay. Is my technology good enough to support this? Now, when this problem occurred in the real life, at that point of time, it was realized that their solution had no, what do you call it, as a load balancer or auto scaling up. Sorry, I'm using some technology terms, but then they are, I'll try to make it simpler, but they are important to be said. Okay. So, there's something called as auto scaling. Why don't we face any issue on, say, Amazon.com or Amazon.in? Because whenever the number of the users reaches to a certain point, technology-wise, automatically a new server is added. So the load gets balanced. Right? So it's like opening another window when there is a long queue in a window on any window. Then what will they do is they will open another window and they will move some people into this one. So similar thing happens in terms of the technology. So they implemented this particular solution as well. My client implemented this solution. Now, this is what was the technology assessment of the solution. So there are a lot of such factors like my business process mapping, my stakeholders, my finances, my technology alignment or mapping or availability of the technology, and of course, pastel remains everywhere. Right? Political, economical, so it is everywhere. So you have to do that pastel analysis also.
Moving on to the next leg of risk assessment is documenting and classifying risk, right? Could you tell our attendees what tools and techniques are most effective for doing so?
Documentation, I would say it's a little easier. Okay, so first, let's look at the classification of the risk. Now, risk. So there are, even before that, there are two types of things, two types of risks. One is threat and one is opportunity. Whenever we hear the word risk, we first feel that there is something wrong, or there may be something can go wrong. Right? But then on the other hand, there is something which can go extremely positive. Right? I may get a referral 3 projects in 1 month. So that's an opportunity that I have. So now, how do I classify this risk? There's a basic level of classification, whether it is impacting my business process, or whether it is impacting my finances, or whether it is impacting my human resources. That will be the basic level of classification. Beyond that, of course, every business, all the businesses need to go beyond that. Now, how do you go beyond that? you consider the different aspects of risk, like how much how much is that risk if it occurs, how much of or how many of my business objectives it will impact. So say for example, if it rains, then will it impact my delivery? Will it impact my supply chain? Correct? So in that case, it will be the supply chain that will be impacted, but my production can still continue. Even though it is raining outside, my production can still continue. So what is the exposure? Okay, what is the exposure of that risk? Again, based on that, I can classify it. Then what is the proximity? So I say in Mumbai, right? Mumbai, we have this monsoon season, say from June, July up to September. Having the rain showers in the month of January in Mumbai is almost nil. Correct? So in the month of January, for my project, for the delivery of goods, if I say that no, there can be rains and hence my delivery will be delayed, so that is completely irrelevant risk. The proximity of that risk is very far, so I should not be considered it in my in the risk of this particular month of January. Then I should classify the risk based on my appetite. Okay, how much risk I would like to take. So if I have 10 lakh rupees, right, where will I invest it? Will I invest it in everything in share market? Will I invest everything in the gold, or will I take the entire money and will I try to pay my home EMIs? Right? So how much is my appetite will decide, appetite towards the risk, how much risk I can take will decide, based on that I will decide how much bifurcation I want to do. So similarly in the business, I will decide how much risk I can take on my manufacturing, on my supply chain, on my human resources, on my capex. So it depends on my appetite. So I'll have to be very careful, aware about how much is my appetite. Sometimes some risk may come as a very high priority. Why? Let's say government changes some rules, the regulatory authority changes some rules, and that is impacting my business. So business priority takes the prominence there. There will be different such aspects which I will have to consider when I am when I'm classifying the risk.
The next question to you is around stakeholder engagement. According to you, how does stakeholder engagement enhance risk identification under ISO 31000?
Okay, so ISO 31000 of course recommends including all the stakeholders. Right? When I look at look at any organization as say MSME or any other, who are my stakeholders? My employees, my board of directors, my investors. Maybe if I'm still an MSc but I'm listed, then my shareholders, my clients, regulatory authorities. It is a must to involve all of them when you look at managing the risk for my business. Okay? What happens when we involve these different people or the different stakeholders is they bring their own perspective. So when I talk with an investor, the investor is more worried, more focused all about the money that they have invested and how will they get return. But when I talk about the employees, when I hear the risk from the employees are going to tell me more about how the situations on the ground are for working, how much they feel engaged within the organization, and those kind of things can give me a lot of pointers in terms of making the improvements. So even ISO 31000 understands this, and ISO 31000 asks us to bring all those employees in your risk analysis. So when I so there are different steps in even in ISO. Okay. One is identify a risk, then defining a risk, assessing the risk. Okay. So in all the steps, not only all in this, but overall the risk life cycle, what we need is the participation from all these different stakeholders, and which again the standard also recommends us to do it. Because let's say if I identify a risk on the finance part, but then to mitigate that risk, to respond to that risk, what I need is the commitment, dedication, work from my employees. Correct? So, as they say, security is the responsibility of everybody, quality is the responsibility of everybody, even the risk is the responsibility. As per the scientists. Sorry, go ahead.
My next question to you is around practical steps for assessing the likelihood and impact of risks.
Okay. There is a very simple basic. There are different ways. One is qualitative, one is quantitative. We'll start with a very basic way of doing it. The risk, there's something called the risk score. Okay. So this risk score is calculated as the product or the multiplication of the probability of the risk and the impact of the risk. So if this risk happens, what is the impact multiplied by what is the probability of this risk will happen. So if it rains in Mumbai in the month of January, what is the probability? Very less. But if it rains, if that risk occurs, then what will happen? The impact will be larger, because nobody will be ready, right? Nobody will have the rain gear, the things will be open. So there will be a large impact if that risk occurs. So this is what exactly we'll have to find. So risk score is going to give me or help me to prioritize my risk responses. But then this is calculated as probability into impact. Now, how do I define what is the probability and what is the impact? Okay. The other factors, what I mentioned earlier, like the risk exposure. How much of my business is exposed to it? How much is my risk appetite? How much risk I'm ready to take? What is my budget if the risk occurs? So if the rain occurs and if there is a negative impact on my supply chain, do I have budget to make some additional provisions? Can I do something else? Maybe sending my material by using some other channels. Okay? So this budget, my priorities, my technologies, all these factors needs to be weighed. They should be considered, and that will tell you, or that will help you to arrive at the better quantitative numbers, the figures for your probability and your impact, and then you will get the risk score. But at the basic minimum, at least based on the expertise of your stakeholders, you should get the risk score from.
Understood. Sir, can you also tell us in terms of application of qualitative and quantitative methods, how can businesses do so in risk analysis?
How can
businesses apply qualitative and
businesses apply them? Okay, so see this, as I mentioned, qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative will tell you something about the perspective, something about the usefulness, the quality aspects of the risk. Okay? The quantitative methods will help you actually quantifying it. Now, why quantification is important is, see, the quality is about a little perception. What you see as a quality, I may not see that as a quality. For me, it could be something else. So while qualitative analysis and what the risk score that I get after that analysis is, yes, definitely it is helpful, it is useful. But then to make the decisions as the board of director or founder of MSME, to make the decisions, what we need is the quantitative method. Okay? So whereas the qualitative method will give me the flexibility, I will bring in the experts and I will get their advice. It will be very fast. Huh? Anyway, qualitative will be very fast because anyone and everyone will be able to tell you very quickly whether you see a risk in that or no. But when it comes to quantitative methods, no, you first have to gather the data. You have to first see where and how you will get a very authenticate or very real life data. It should not be kind of manufactured data to drive your decision in a particular way. Then you will have to provide the financial justifications based on that data. Okay? Then there is something called as scenario planning, in which the risk management team sits together. They will create a scenario for every different option that could be there. If I'm saying that yes, my supply chain may get impacted, then how it will get impacted, to what level, to what intensity it will be impacted, whether it will be 100% down or whether it will be 50% down. So this risk management team will create these scenarios. They will apply the data on these scenarios and then they will give you the risk score or the information or the numbers required to make that decision. Now this all is very prominently I have seen in the financial businesses. Like most of my career, my experience was with the banks and the financial institutions and insurance companies. So for every insurance policy, when I purchase a policy, they ask all my information. They ask my identification information. They ask my financial information, health information. All that goes as the data. And based on these quantitative methods, the risk will be assessed, and then that risk will tell me what will be the premium I'll end up paying. Okay. So it doesn't work on a way like, because I like HDFC Bank, they are going to give me a very low premium, and because I don't like some other bank, they will put me a higher premium. No, nothing like that. So it's all like quantitative methodologies which will be applied, and then the risk analysis will be complete.
Now, so how can MSMEs address the challenges of conducting effective risk assessments?
Okay, so MSME wants to conduct the risk assessment. I'll just connect this to last thing what I said. To conduct the risk assessment, first thing you need is the data. Because see, this assessment is going to help us or help the MSME to make the decisions. Right? So they will need the data, and that data will be based on whichever the field it is, whether it's a financial risk that they are looking at, human resources, or their manufacturing risk, or any other. Right? So, but first they will need the data. Then they will have to look into the resource constraints. Are there any resource constraints? Now, here the word resource doesn't mean only the human resource. It means the resource, like even my machinery, my material, even the risks associated with my partner suppliers. Whether will they be able to provide me the material, with the risk associated with my upward supply chain partners. They will have to consider the factors associated with them. Many times what happens is the data is there, the methodologies are there, everything is fine, but the management doesn't give a mind. Actually, to mitigate a risk, there is going to be some cost. Right? And then the management doesn't give a mind. So this risk management team needs actually to come up with such kind of data analysis which will help the management to make a decision. Right? And the management's participation becomes very important. And then, of course, because the risk is everywhere, the business environment that in which it is operating, it is working. Is very dynamic, and that also should be considered when you are doing the risk assessment.
Got it. Now, when it comes to strategies, so can you tell us what strategies can businesses use to mitigate operational risks effectively?
More or less, it will be like a how should I say it will be like a summary of what we discussed. So when it comes to the strategies, of course I would suggest, yes, please follow ISO 31001, because that is going to bring a lot of streamlining in your process. Then make it collaborative. Involve your stakeholders. Have a prioritization from your business and from your technology separately. I'm bringing these two areas as a prominent ones, but of course the other functions under the department also will to be there, and they also need to participate. But the business related risk and the technology related risk should be there on a prominent slide. Then while I am thinking about bringing a strategy on my operational risk, I will have to look into the processes that I will be bringing. See, it matters a lot whether you are, as an organization, whether you are reviewing your risk every month or whether you are doing it every 6 months. 6 months become a longer period, and then something may already rise up and may go wrong and disturb your business also. So these processes at the ground level, at the operational level, also need to be considered or should be given a good amount of consideration. The very highly likely proposed strategy will be having maybe a small team, but a dedicated team for the risk management. Even if business does that, and when the business and the technology and this risk management team, when they work collaboratively at a good frequency, the risk can be controlled, the risk can be identified and managed very well.
Got it. Now, sir, how can risks be prioritized for treatment in alignment with ISO 31000 guidelines?
Okay, sorry. So you are asking how the risks could be prioritized. Okay. What is it important from the business perspective? Every business will have different SLAs or their KPIs, right? SLAs with their consumers, SLAs with their suppliers, partners. But then these SLAs will matter a lot when you want to prioritize. See, because risk should be prioritized in alignment with these SLAs. If on-time delivery is my SLA, correct, then all the risks which will impact the on-time delivery needs to be prioritized. Right? If quality, safety, if these are my priority, then all the risks which may impact these aspects of the business, they should be prioritized. So, as we said, risk is everywhere. You take any function, you take any process, you take any people, there will be the risk. Now, to prioritize it, I will need to understand the business priorities and then align my risk.
And sir, what role, according to you, does the management play in successfully implementing ISO 31000?
Is the management who will be solely responsible for building that culture. See, ISO 31000 will give the strategic direction to the organization about the risk management. Right? ISO 31000 will give us how the ideal governance structure should be. Right? But ultimately, it is the top management, or what we may want to call it as a leadership as well. They will have to adopt this. they will have to adopt this the spirit of risk management and then percolate it to the team members. So, defining the strategy, bringing any cultural changes, upskilling the team members about the risk management and why it is important, how it is important, providing the budgets. This becomes a very important part. Many a times the management says that yes, we are very well aware and we have very good practices for the risk management and our team members are skilled into it. But the challenge happens when the budget comes in. When the budget needs to be provisioned for the risk mitigation, the challenge comes there. And this history also, we have seen this many large incidents wherein because the enough budget was not allocated, there have been the actual lethal accidents which have happened. Right? So this comes from the management. Right? So that is the role that they play. They are the whole and soul. The risk entirely will be driven top down.
Got it. Absolutely right, sir. So my last question to you is, how can businesses monitor and improve their risk management practices over time?
Okay, so to monitor, as I said, we need frequent reviews. But then even through those reviews, how are we going to monitor and what are we going to monitor? Suppose 6 months back, I have identified a risk. Now, even today, if I'm keeping that risk open, probably doesn't make sense. During the 6 months, it might have been closed also. Correct? So what I need on a frequent basis are some tools and techniques. Okay? So, say I need some documentation like risk register, risk management plan, my risk analysis, okay? And then even to do this risk analysis at different stages of the risk life cycle, I can use the different techniques. And two common techniques I can use, like say SWOT analysis, my strength, weakness, opportunities, and my threat. Simple analysis, but then that helps us in the risk management or risk assessment. Then things like there are very specific techniques like risk breakdown structure, or there's something called the Swiss cheese model. This name is quite interesting, Swiss cheese model, but it is so effective that it actually tracks your risk through different risk responses. Now what happens is if you have 10 risk, then single response will definitely not cover all the 10 risks. Out of 10, maybe 6 will go to the next level. So then there is another control which will come into picture. So this kind of techniques, this kind of frameworks, they will definitely help you to manage these things better.
With that, sir, we've come to the end of today's episode. Thank you so much for sharing your detailed insights and intel with regards to implementing ISO31000 for effective risk management with our attendees. I am certain that your examples, references, the way you narrated each and every single question's response will help them sort of smooth and ease into the process of managing their business effectively. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure.
For our attendees who are online, if you'd like to see this current episode, if you missed any part of current episode, or if you'd like to see any of our previously shot episodes, go on YouTube, type JSW One MSME, and you will find all our episodes uploaded there. Thank you so much once again, sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.